Jimmy Smith doing some post-fight breakdown. This time for boxing, Ortiz versus Wilder. If I'm a little tired, it's because I did the post-fight show this morning on Sirius XM from 1 to 2 in the morning. So recovering a little bit from that. But anyway, so Ortiz-Wilder, interesting fight in that I thought, well, number one, I disagreed completely with the ringside score, whoever it was. He was giving Deontay Wilder a lot of rounds I wasn't giving him. I thought Ortiz won 5 of the first 6 rounds. He was behind. Wilder was behind on every judge's scorecard. They read it to us right before we went on air, but I forget exactly what it was. I think one judge had him 2 rounds ahead. The other 2 had him 3 rounds ahead, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But anyway, Ortiz was ahead, certainly. But the ringside scorer for, I think it was PBC or Fox, whoever it was, kept giving Wilder rounds that I didn't think he deserved. I thought he was being outworked barely. I mean, there wasn't a lot of action in the first 6 rounds of this fight. So, anyway, Ortiz was just, from the southpaw stance, throwing an overhand left that was landing occasionally. He was the one moving forward. He was throwing more punches. He was controlling the real estate. And Wilder, early on in this fight, looked a little befuddled. I really thought that he would throw more jabs. I thought he would control the range a little bit better. I thought he would come out more aggressively against Ortiz. You remember the last fight, he gave up the first 4 rounds as well. Ended up coming back and winning by knockout. But I thought he would be a little more assertive against someone he's already beaten by knockout. Whenever you rematch somebody and you won by knockout, if you finish them, you want to remind them of the power disparity. You want to put them mentally kind of back in that place early on in a fight. I think you need to establish yourself earlier on in a rematch. And a lot of times you can break a guy mentally because you knocked them out last time. You want them to kind of start doubting themselves and kind of feeling that pain early on. And Wilder didn't do that. So Ortiz got more and more comfortable as he was going. So he was moving forward. He was throwing the overhand left. He was outboxing Wilder by a little bit. Never really hurt him. There were no, oh my God moments. Landed some good shots, but Wilder took them well. But the lack of volume in the first 6 rounds was really the standout quality to me. And the crowd was starting to get sick of it. They were starting to boo. There were starting to be some problems. Now, it wasn't long. There was still enough tension because both guys are heavy hitters that I think that carried them through the first half of the fight. I think any longer than that, and you would have started to hear some pushback from the crowd. It really would have been kind of, okay, guys, you got to fight at some point because Ortiz was controlling it without having to throw very many punches. So, if you heard me this morning on SiriusXM, or there's a highlight on Twitter if you can check it out. We talk about the shift. It was me and Ryan McKinnell. We talk about the shift when it came to the commentary of this fight. Not a lot was happening. Wilder was losing. He throws a beautiful straight right hand that kind of lands over the eye of Ortiz and knocks him out in round 7. And the narrative was suddenly he was setting him up. Boy, what great kind of ring generalship and IQ from Deontay Wilder. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. In that he was losing, just because you come back with a knockout in a fight you're losing doesn't mean you were setting him up the whole time. That was your whole plan. Of course, your plan is to knock him out. That's always Wilder's plan. But the idea that was some kind of setup, I don't believe that. I think he was trying to figure out the range, trying to tactically find a way into the fight and couldn't find one. When he finally did, it happened to be a right hand and he knocked him out. I don't believe that it was a setup in any way. I don't believe it was a matter of a game plan issue for Deontay Wilder. I think he was having legit trouble with Ortiz and then found the right hand and knocked him out. Great win for him. Highlight stuff. RJ Clifford, who I work with on SiriusXM, tweeted out it's a $20 million right hand because that set up the rematch with Fury, which is going to be a huge fight, pay-per-view extravaganza, and that wouldn't have happened if he loses to Ortiz. So great right hand, great finish, but it's one of those things where I had Jerry Cooney on also this morning, and one of the things he said that I found interesting was, he's just limited. He's got to learn other things. He's going to catch up to him eventually. He's 41, 0-1 with 40 knockouts. It's never going to catch up to him. This is it. This is his career. This is what Deontay Wilder is. He is a comparatively limited heavyweight in terms of boxing skills who can knock your head off. He's already made a career. If for argument's sake, he fights Tyson Fury in February, he makes a truckload of money, and he loses, and he says, it's been a great career, I'm out of here. That's a full career. 42 professional fights is a full career. No one would criticize him, in my opinion, for walking away from the sport at that point. He's had enough fights, he's had enough knockouts, he's entertained enough people, he's made enough money. There is no, boy, to get to the next level, he's got to learn more boxing skills. He's already there. He's already a world champion, right? He wants to be a unified, undisputed champion, which he is not. But the idea that it's going to catch up to him, it would have caught up to him already. It's too late for the leopard to change his spots. He's not going to suddenly develop all these boxing skills. He's no spring chicken, too. So it's one of those things where Wilder is just going to have to, continue with the skill set he has. He's 34 years old. He's not going to suddenly learn a lot more. And this hard-hitting style, maybe he knocks Fury out and he's an undisputed champion. That would be huge. He's still comparatively limited, but it doesn't matter. The interesting part to me about this fight is it looked like a pretty severe regression. I thought he had boxed better in previous fights. I thought he had used the jab better in previous fights. I thought he had thrown more volume in previous fights. He had better footwork in previous fights. He looked tighter defensively. So Deontay Wilder, to me, tactically took a big step back in this fight. He wasn't using the jab effectively, wasn't using his range effectively, was behind and had to win by knockout and did. Once again, great finish, but in any sport, if I'm teaching a guy in jiu-jitsu and he's at a tournament and he falls behind by 10 points and then submits the guy, great, good for you, but when you walk off the mat, I'm going to go, look, it's not a good idea to give up 10 points in a jiu-jitsu match. I don't care if you submit him, that's great. There are guys who are going to fall behind and you can't submit them. Tyson Fury ate his best right hand and got up off the canvas in a fight that I thought Tyson Fury won. That's going to happen. You can't always rely on the fact that your power is going to get you out of a tough spot. Don't be in a tough spot. You can outbox somebody and then use your power. You can tag somebody up and then knock them out. Pile up a lead in the scorecards and then knock them out. So the idea that you're going to set somebody up and lose half of a fight, half of a 12-round fight, and then hope to knock him out, sure, it's worked out for the majority of his career, pretty much all of his career, but is it the safest bet when you want to be a unified champion? I don't think he has a choice. He is what he is at this point. He's not going to develop other skills out of the blue. Now, the heavyweight division in combat sports, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, is the one division where you can have a pretty limited skill set and get really far. Get to a world title. Rocky Marciano is considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He was a comparatively limited boxer. He had basically a really strong right hand, and that was it. George Foreman, once again, considered an all-time great boxer, heavyweight, a comparatively limited boxer. Power puncher, but God, looked like he was chopping down a tree every time he threw a punch. Not tactical, not great footwork. Had a decent jab, especially later on in his career. But, the heavyweight division, you can do that. You can get away with that. We remember the Alis and the Tysons, and one of the reasons they stand out so much is they were skilled. They were versatile. They could do a lot of things. You can get to the heavyweight title and be a great heavyweight and not have those things. In MMA, Francis Ngannou, or MMA, it's much harder to become a world champion with a limited skill set because there's so much your opponent can do. But Francis Ngannou has made a great career with a comparatively limited skill set. Mark Hunt, a comparatively limited skill set, had a decent career. In terms of world champions, I would say Brock Lesnar was comparatively limited and won a world title. So the heavyweight division in boxing, you can just be a hard puncher and do pretty well, which Deontay Wilder has done better than pretty well. He's going to make a ton of money against Tyson Fury and has a chance at becoming the undisputed champion. But there's nothing in the fight last night that I saw that if I'm Tyson Fury really scares me or worries me. It's just not going to happen. I didn't see anything that, man, he's really improved this or that, or man, you really have to worry about the right hand. Now, that might be enough. It's been enough most of his career, but you also have to look at if you're part of Tyson Fury's camp, you're going to say, look, avoid the right hand and you win. If you don't get clobbered by that right hand, you win this fight. That's what I saw last night. It's somebody that if you can avoid that big shot, you're going to win. You don't have to worry about a ton of skills. You don't have to worry about crazy footwork. You don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. You have to worry about that big right hand coming at you. And that's it. So the idea that he's going to learn more, I don't believe that, especially in the time he has left. The fight's in February. He's not going to learn a ton of new skills. The idea that he has to in order to have a great career, no, he's already had a great career. The only question is, he has to beat Tyson Fury, and then if he wants to be unified champion, he has to beat the winner of Ruiz Joshua. And who knows if they have a rubber match. He has to get past essentially 2 more fights with a right hand that is like an atomic bomb. That's what he has, and he has to get past 2 fights. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be entertaining. Well, we'll see if he can do it. But he made a mint of money last night with this knockout. And it'll be replayed over and over and over. But what we tend to do as broadcasters and as fans is remember that ending rather than remember the flaws we saw before that. And the flaws we saw before that were significant. So we'll see what happens in February, but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be back again soon.